Om Vang me manasi pratisthita mano me vachi pratishthetam aviravirma edi vedasyama ani stha shrutam me ma prahasi Anena dhitena horatran sandadhami ritam vadishyami satyam vadishyami tanmamavadhu tadvaktaramavadhu avatu mam avatu vaktaram avatu vaktaram. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So we stopped at number 9. Yes, about the accent I changed in this file, but it was at the beginning with accentuation. You could see that it was there in place, yeah? All the accentuation of the ahaya and anudatta and svadita. So from here, from this, because when I pasted them, so it just somewhere deleted, but I've kind of returned it back, so you can have all of them in place. Great. Basically, Svarita should be 90% enough to recover the Udatta, and by Svarita we can recover Anudatta, because Svarita is always standing in the position after Udatta. So, and the previous must be Anudatta, so we can always recover Anudatta. Unless there are two accented words in a row.
Vladimir, this is totally unclear to me. Some other time we'll probably discuss this because unless you have a video somewhere which
I
explains
have a
this.
video which is explaining the whole Vedic accent, special video made for that. Why it is there, what it does, how
Okay.
it came into being, how it reflects upon the real language, and so on.
Okay, I'll look for it.
Okay, I will send the link.
If you can, yeah, thanks.
Sure. And there was a big discussion among scholars, especially those, Vedic scholars. And by the way, when I met with Vedic scholars from Delhi, there was a group of students with Guru from Gurukula coming to Pondicherry, so they called me to talk to them. And the Guru spoke only in Sanskrit. It was very pleasant to hear how he... But we discussed with him Vedic accent. And he was so surprised that I was recovering the Udatta all the time, because they are not doing it, they are just reciting it in the way how it is accentuated in the Vedic accent. But then he was so thrilled. He said, he was nearly in tears. He was saying that this is the way how we should read the text, because of course nobody would read with Vedic accent. There's no such language where you read with with singing tone. There are no such languages. There is no such poetry. But then he explained that in the yagyas they don't do Vedic accent. They do only Ekashruti, because the Vedic accent was meant to preserve the Udatta only. Yeah. So that was quite interesting to hear that he was so enthusiastic to recover the readings of the Rig Veda, how rishis read it. Yes. So to preserve the Udatta, morphological accent in each word, this device of Anudatta and Svarita was kind of introduced to keep it in place. Why it was needed? For one simple reason, because the meter interferes with accent. So if you have a meter, for example, iambic meter as it is here in Gayatri, ta 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 ta, it is not totally falling into the words are not falling into this accent, into the accent of the meter. Yeah. So kavim agnim, it fits very well. Kavim
Right.
agnim,
Right.
and then upa doesn't fit because u is this udatta. That means it is morphological, so it should be low and it is high. So what would you do? How would you, hold both the meter and the accent? So that's why they needed to mark it with a voice, because they were not writing. If they would be writing, they would be, putting it wherever it should be written. But with a voice, how can you mark the udatta if the meter interferes? It's a big issue. So if you think of it, you will find very interesting answers.
For example, here, Devam Ami Amivachatanam, right?
Yes.
There'll be no gap essentially between Devam and Amivachatanam, isn't it?
Yeah, it is 8 syllables. Devam, Amiva, and
Chatanam.
Chatanam is only the accentuated because it's a compositor word. Yes, Amiva Chatanam.
Okay.
Chatanam. It actually fits into iambic meter. So Devam Amiva Chatanam.
Right. Right. Okay. Got it.
Cha is
I'll I'll
fitting.
I'll look at your video because I'm very interested in it.
Sure,
Okay.
sure. It's a profound issue, and by the way, many mistakes are made because of this. Because somehow in modern India, it wasn't really clear what this accent was about. Yeah, and because of that, for example, the whole Vajasane Samhita. What they did, the whole project, I even wanted to write to Indian government to redo the project of Vajasane Samhita. They took the printed text from, I think it was Kilhorn. They took the printed text which was edited in Germany, and in there, in preface, they write that we are marking only udatta, and udatta was marked as an udatta here by the line below. Yeah?
Okay.
So each high pitch was marked with a line, because there are different ways of marking. It's not the only way. Yeah? Samaveda has different markings. Vajasane Samhita has this type of marking only udatta. Do not mark anudatta and svarita. So what they did, they read the whole text with this as anudatta and not
Oh,
udatta. Can you
okay.
imagine? Everything opposite. And maybe
Everything is
maybe you even heard this, like, it should be read Purnamadav Purnamidam, and they read just the opposite. Purnamadav
oh,
Purnamidam.
okay. Okay.
Even
Okay.
Shanti Shanti Shanti, they read Shanti Shanti Shanti. Just the opposite. And because they didn't read the preface where it is explained, so they read it automatically as if it should be this way, because it's the most used markings. Yeah. So, and it was edited, it was recorded, and it was spread all over India. When I heard this, I was so frustrated. I thought, you spoiled Vajasane Samhita, so you should go back and redo it. But since nobody pays attention to the accent anymore, so it's kind of, accent was lost from 200 BC onwards. From Patanjali's Mahabhashya, there is already a dispute of the accent. So, for example, you take the whole Mahabharata, Puranas, Tantras, there is no accent. Huh? You will have no accent. Even Aitareya Brahmana has no accent. It's lost. So only in the Rig Veda we have this accentuation which is proper to Sanskrit language of that time. Yeah? So nowadays everybody puts his own accent. When people speak in Sanskrit Bharati, they can put accent wherever they want. Yeah? So this is a problem of Sanskrit spoken language nowadays. Yeah, it has to be kind of recovered, or we have to arrive at certain accentuation which is more or less common for all. Which was the case in the Rig Veda. We are reading the text, the only authentic text where the accent is absolutely the same throughout. If we have upa, upa will have always on u, yeah? Kavi always have on the second syllable accent. Agni, who says Agni nowadays in India? Everybody says Agni. Nobody
That's
would say
correct. Yes.
Agni. Agni sounds weird, but this is the accent of this word. So this is the problem. It's a big problem.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So kavim agnim upastuhi satyadharmanam adhvare devam amiva chatanam. To the divine flame, the seer, him whose law of being is the truth, the shining one, the destroyer of all evils, approach and chant the hymn of praise. To Kavi, to Agni, upastuhi. It should have been interesting there, to the seer, him whose law of the being is true, Satya Dharmanam, to the shining one, Devam, this is how he, destroyer of all evils, amiva chatanam, approach and chant, upastuhi. So you see how Sri Aurobindo beautifully translates the verb. Stuhi is kind of praise, but upa, praise closer, yeah? So he says approach and chant the hymn of praise. So he adds the whole action which is not here, because one prefix upa for him is approach, yeah? Come closer. Basically, we already spoke about the stotram, stuti, stuhi in this case, is to affirm within oneself. In many places he translates exactly this. Affirm within yourself, yes? Closer to you, closer to your being. Agni, the seer, the kavi, the satya dharman, the one who has true dharma. Adhavare, on the way of your journey. Devam, the shining one. The shining one, that's how he translates the God. Yeah? He follows the Rudiv. Rudiv is to shine. Amiva Chatanam, the destroyer of all evils. Establish in yourself the flame. Sorry, this has to be. In yourself the flame of the divine will, who is the seer and the creator of the word. Kavi, the seer and the creator of the word, it is the sentence I'm using for Kavi, one word. He is the seer and the poet, yeah? Whose law of action is that of the truth, Satya Dharmanam. The shining deity, Devam, removing all the obstacles, Amiva Chatanam. Yes, it is the one whose dharma is always true. If there is someone in this world whose dharma is always true, then this is him. In every way, his dharma will be true because he invokes higher powers and brings them into action in this world. And this world is meant to be that journey and that constant transformation. It was created for this purpose. We are here for this purpose, to fulfill that dharma of constant progress and growth of consciousness, which Agni represents. We will come to it in in the next verse. Today I was reading this and I was so taken by it. Let us look into the next and next. Yastvam Agni Havishpatir Dutam Devam Saparyati Tasyasma Pravita Bhava. Have you read this? Yeah, with you. We did read. Sorry, we have to start from 9. Okay, I just repeated myself. Yo agnim deva vitaye havishman avivasati tasmai pavakam hridaya. This is the letter which you find in the Vedic language, L, cerebral L. And we have it in Tamil, also Marathi, we have it in Marathi. Maybe Rashi knows it since she is there closer in the middle of India, Marathi. And it is in the Vedic language. Yes, it is not available in the classical Sanskrit anymore. In classical, it will be D, cerebral D, mrid. Yeah. So he who with the offerings approaches the divine force for the birth of the gods or purifier, on him have grace. Yo Agnim Deva Vita Yeha Vishman Avivasati, the one who wants, who wishes to love or to appropriate, to conquer or to win, let us say, to gain, to acquire, to possess, to become master of, the one who wishes to have Agni as the master of his being, coming to him with the havich, with the offering, unto him be merciful, O Pavaka, O purifier. Mridaya means literally be soft. Yeah, mridu, from here you know the word mridu, soft. Be soft unto him. Don't be harsh with him. Don't transform him too fast, because he will suffer, he will burn. So go soft on him. Not too slow, not too fast. Find the pace in which he can transform without suffering. What is interesting here, let me read the one who approaches the divine force, Agnim, with the desire to conquer his lower nature, I will come to it in a minute, offering it for the transformation, Havishman. He brings the Havis, the offering, and for the growth of the gods within him, Deva Vitaye. To him be gracious and supportive, O Pavaka, the purifier of all things impure. Pavaka is the one who purifies, who takes impure things which did not have the divine properties and purifies them, removes from them all those things which are not allowing us to see the divine property. And then the divine character shines finally. So he burns away all those impurities until that very thing is visible to us, what is meant to be visible. So for him, be merciful, O Pavaka, or purify. So what is interesting is Deva Vitaye, for the birth of the gods, or for the growth of the gods. Viti is interesting word. I'm here giving the viti from root V, to go, to approach as a friend, to grasp, to accept, to enjoy, to fall upon, to attack as an enemy, to approach as a friend and to attack as an enemy, both. And to set in motion, to arouse, to impel, to promote, to lead, to excite. All of these meanings are somehow in this root V and Viti. It's a very common word, Deva Viti, in the Vedas, and especially in the Rig Veda. Deva Vitaye, it's dative case, for Deva Viti. We can translate it directly as for the movement or the promotion of the gods, for the promotion of the luminous consciousness, the one who comes to you, O Agni, with offering, seeking your appropriation, seeking your adaptation in himself. Avivasati, wanting you as his beloved, wanting you as his master, let us say. To him be merciful. The language is very specific and particular. This avivasati, it is chosen with a special kind of mind of the rishi, wanting to conquer. I'm translating wanting to conquer his lower nature, though it is actually wanting to conquer Agni. By the way, conquering, winning, is not something negative in the ancient mind. This is something we also have to see. We have this like Satyameva Jayate, this truth alone conquers or prevails. Or we have Svargam Jayati, he conquers heaven. How can you conquer heaven? So it's not something negative, it's more positive. And we can see this in the ancient mind, that victory is something very positive. It does not imply kind of destruction of that which should survive. It implies only the destruction of that which should go. This mind we lost. For us, conquest is a bit negative. Yeah? We see the negative side of it. The destruction of that which should go, we kind of, we do not accept easily. We would like everything to survive, and that's the problem of our mind. We want peace without change. It will not happen. The conquest has to take place. The removal of obstacles has to take place. Otherwise, there will be no real victory, real peace. It's impossible. So here we are. And then, this is what today I was thinking about, these two verses. Sanaf pavaka didivach agne devan ihavaha upayajnam havishchanach. O shining flame, thou who purifiest, hither bear the gods to our offerings and to our sacrifice. My interpretation. O Agni, bring here the divine powers to our sacrifice and to our offering. Make it pure and sacred, our offering. O shining purifier of our nature. So that what we offer is also not yet purified. And it's a kind of interesting idea. It has to be also purified by him. We offer to the divine something which is not yet ready to be totally offered. Yeah, but we want it to be prepared for the offering. So the divine itself makes it ready for receiving it and changing it. So it will take charge of our offering once we are ready to give it. And it will take time to prepare the offering, to make it ready for inflammation by the divine will. Again, all the time, bring here the gods, bring here the gods. Who are these gods he has to bring? These are different universal powers, which are either within Agni or above. He summons them, he brings them into action, he gives them place to act. He gives them, he is the entry for these forces to take charge of our being. Sanach stavana abhara Gayatrenana viyasa raim viravatim isham. Raim viravatim isham. Proper accent. So, thou adored by our fresh Gayatri hymns, bring for us the felicity and force full of hero strength. My interpretation, you are the one we affirm within ourselves by a newer Gayatri, Naviyasa. Bring for us the luminous power able to conquer and master the lower existence. This is my interpretation. I will go through the words. That for us, Stavana, thus being affirmed within us, Abhara, bring, Gayatrina Naviyasa, with the help of newer Naviyasa Gayatri, the hymn, with the newer hymn, bring you being affirmed within us, Raim, the wealth, the luminous transformation, Viravatim, full of hero power, Isham, the impulsion, force full of hero strength. Ish is this, the impulsion, as Sri Aurobindo translates, the luminous impulsion, the divine force, force full of hero strength. So, yeah?
May I interrupt?
Yes, every time, please.
What do you mean by newer Gayatri?
Yes, and this is what we will be going. You see, what rishis do, they always put some paradox. In each line there will be one paradox. If we can find that paradox, because it is something which attracts our mind to think what really is meant by newer Gayatri. So here I was kind of writing today, it's just written one time without editing, but still doesn't matter. The thought of this newer Gayatri. It is very important to always receive a newer power of transformation. It is as if we have to start every time anew from zero. The change we acquired is becoming a new ground, as it were, a new zero, new beginning of our journey forward. This is the formula of a constant progress and growth of consciousness. There must be a new word, a new hymn, a fresh and sincere prayer from the heart. Only then the progress will be rapid and substantial. We cannot repeat something which is already settled in our mind. Our call has to be fresh, new. If it is the repetition, mechanical, it's not working the same way. So we have to level to zero, as it were, our achievements, to make them a foundation for the next advancement. We must fully receive and absorb the changes called upon and received from grace from above. The mother calls it receptivity, to fully use the force received for the purpose it was invoked. When we invoke something, some change, the grace answers. And this grace has to be received and applied for that change. So it means that it has to work itself out, as it were. And once it is worked out, we need to call for a new grace. Once it is done, we can call again for a new intervention, a new help from above. And this is how our journey forward is maintained. All our achievements become integrated into our being. They are not something we have anymore or and can use at will. It is what we are already. It becomes us, as it were. Only then we can call for the next action of grace and proceed forward. So if we acquire help and we don't use it, then we pile up the impossibilities. And that's what we make in our life. The mess of our life is made by this, that we never fully apply the grace we receive for the purpose we called upon. This is something very psychological and very interesting. That's why he put this puzzle here, Gayatrena Naviyasa, by newer Gayatri, by a fresh invocation we bring. So we establish you, affirm you within ourselves by this newer call and newer aspiration, by the fresh beginning aspiration. So bring for us this new force full of hero powers, wealth full of heroic force and impulsion. So this is quite interesting because this is a typical Vedic, aim of the sacrifice. The wealth, that means the light of consciousness, which is charged with power. Power and light of consciousness go always together. The cow and the horse, Raim and Vira or Isham, they will be always mentioned together. You will see them throughout mentioned together. Whenever there is wealth, there is light, there will be always power following. And light has to precede the power. They are even mentioned in this hierarchy. Raim, Viravatim, Isham. Not Viravatim, Raim. Never. Yeah? Always Raim, Viravatim, because the light of consciousness is to precede the power. Power follows the light. And this is the Vedic approach. Somewhere Sri Aurobindo explains this, actually. Yeah.
Like Usha.
Huh?
Like Usha, the dawn.
Like Usha, yes.
There's a word called Goagram Ashwapeshasam.
Absolutely.
So
this is
that can.
Gautama Rahugunaha, I can think it's from his hymn. Yes, the kind of the wealth where the go leads the horse, and where the cow is in front of the horse. So the bull or the cow has to lead the power. And that is Vedic approach. In somewhere Sri Aurobindo explains that Tantra is just the opposite. So the experience leads to knowledge, whereas in the Veda, the knowledge leads to experience.
Vladimir, I want to understand this line where you say, to fully use the force received for the purpose it was invoked.
Yeah.
Can you please explain that? I mean, how do we fully use the force?
When we invoke some transformation, change, help me, I will always belong to you. Then the help comes and you forget next day that you belong to the divine. So what happens is that we do not totally charge ourselves with the received help or grace. So what we do when we receive grace, we use it for other purposes also. For our, promotion, for our position, we are kind of presenting ourselves as clever beings or kind of advanced in some understanding in the society. So we do use it for the lower purposes of ego. We are not really totally, fully, truly, well, I'm exaggerating a bit. Some of you may do this, or once in a while we do it right. But I noticed in myself many times that when I receive the the answer, because there is the call, constant call is Agni, yes? And it receives the answer, the grace. It comes to the call. And then it is taken for granted or not fully used, not fully applied to the purpose it was invoked for. So the energy of that grace becomes wasted. And so grace doesn't want to come so easily then next time and next when every time it is being wasted or neglected or taken for granted or forgotten. So the help is not utilized. We are not transformed by that grace, which was the purpose. Yeah? So we must use it fully, and then it will grow. The grace will become more and more responsive to our call. It would be very easy to call, to invoke. As Sri Aurobindo says, it will be a time when you will call the divine presence at will. Yeah? At will, because you are constantly responsive to it. And that's what Mother calls receptivity. Receptivity for her is responsiveness to what you receive and how you utilize it. For what purpose? Yeah. This is receptivity.
Thank you.
Which was for me a big surprise to look at receptivity from this point of view, It's a next level of receptivity. Yeah? We look at the first layer of receptivity as being receptive, open to the influence. Right? But we don't see being open is not enough. You have to receive and to use. Utilize totally what you received. That is receptivity. Another level of receptivity. Responsibility for usage of the grace, to allow grace to work upon you.
So we have to have the discernment to know how to use the grace. You've got to have the knowledge to know how to use the grace.
Or let us stay sincere enough in the moment we receive it, yeah, and allow it to work upon us. We can't do much ourselves. We just have to allow it to work. So not to close too fast. Yes, Marta.
Thank you. I was just going to say that this suggests to me the process Sri Aurobindo describes as ascent and integration. So we make use of the grace to transform ourselves gradually, and by integrating the consequences or the effects of that, and then we're able to rise again to a higher level.
Yeah. And that is the path, basically the journey. We have to step on the step. We cannot just have a step there, or as he says, to sit on the path. Yeah, I am on the path, but I'm sitting on the path. Or dancing, one step forward, two steps backward. This is not the walking the path. So to walk, we have to totally appropriate the change. We have to become it. Yeah, become the change you want to have. Yeah.
Vladimir, one question, one thought rather. If we change with the grace, we should also be able to feel the change within ourselves. Wouldn't that also happen?
Absolutely. And this is really a great, what do you call it, bliss or feeling of delight. Every time we really change, we feel that we lived not in vain this day. The life becomes beautiful, it becomes meaningful. Everything shines, everything, normal things look very abnormal and divine to us then. When we make a change, yeah. But when we don't make a progress, then we feel like going down and
we are stepping into it, and then we are trying to come back to our old whatever we knew ourselves to be, and the comfort of that old person. That
yeah, and it is not comforting anymore. It's
yes,
rather, it's rather boring and disheartening, and there is no life, and there is no meaning in life. The meaning in life is inbuilt in this progress.
and I feel that difficulties tend to increase too. If you keep on stepping back to your old person, the difficulties in life keep on increasing and kind of give us a signal to sort of listen to it.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
sorry.
We call it stagnation. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Sorry.
mothers, you please every time, and
Okay.
it's
Okay.
very nice, very nice. We want to hear these thoughts. This is why we are reading the Rig Veda. Yeah? And Mother speaks about this that what is to be ever young. You remember, yes, in Charter, and to be truly young is to be never satisfied with anything you achieved. It's always to look forward. You achieved and you look forward. You move forward. You cannot stay with what you achieved. Yeah? Oh, I achieved so much. Now I have to benefit from my achievements. That means stagnation and death. Yeah? Just regress, not progress. The time does not permit us to stay with what we achieved and to rest on it. Does not permit us. It pushes us forward. This Agni burns within. Rashi knows about this very well, I guess. Yes, Rashi.
I wanted to actually, I wanted to, I don't know, ask or share or something. I'm feeling extremely stupid right now because I just realized that, you make a breakthrough and then I even asked everybody, okay, what am I, because I became someone else after doing the 3 month of mad project, that whole national mission. And then I'm asking everyone, okay, now what am I supposed to be doing? Because I'm not who I was and I don't know who I am right now. But what is coming to me from here is also that when you have utilized it fully for what you called, and then there is like a period of lull, like it's like because you have not fully probably understood what you have become or what it is, and you just don't know. And perhaps so my question is like, so I didn't know, like I'm still sitting for last 2 weeks not knowing what and why and how, because what I did was break all kind of comfort levels that I had ever imagined in my life. And I was in really, 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 really difficult thing, which I had never done in my life and was big. So I don't feel it as an achievement. I don't feel that, wow, I've done, but I'm like, okay, now, okay, so who am I now? And then I need time to understand. So
Time
when,
for adaptation, yes, right.
yeah,
To recognize yourself, because the old self you can't recognize, the new self is not yet cognizable totally. So this time for adaptation, yes, we need time for adaptation, for these things to settle. But if you make a next step, it's quite interesting. In that next step, you will recognize a new quality in you, new qualities, new yourself, which you now don't recognize. It is because you don't make a next step. So you just wonder, where am I? Who am I now? I'm not that old one, but newer one I just don't recognize. So recognition of a new one of that who you are will be done when you will make a next step.
I totally agree. Yesterday I made the next step and I was like, oh, okay, this is who I am right now. Oh, I'm behaving like this. Oh, I'm talking like this. But I didn't know it was this. So I was like, okay, something happened yesterday. Okay, so that's the clue. That's what I needed to know. That it's in the moving forward that you will see what happened. And then you will be calling for the next level of whatever you whatever. I mean, sometimes I don't even know what to ask for because I always feel they perhaps know better. So I don't know. Really,
It takes time. It takes time to process and integrate change. before moving forward. So we have to give ourselves time, permission
Also,
for that.
also possible, yes. Sometimes when the change was too big, too fast, too rapid, so you need process to process it. Yeah. So you have to stay kind of a little bit and do nothing. Just let it sink in. Yeah. And then, boom, new qualities. I was always wondering about this very thing. Should I remember what I learned? It was so beautiful. Should I really hold on to it? And then I understood one should never hold on to anything you learned. It has to become you. And it will come to you in the moment you need it. Yeah? But don't carry it like remembered truth. Memory in this case, like holding you like the instruments of knowledge, you carry with yourself the whole toolbox, ready to be used. It's not the way to know. It's not the way to be. So it needs to become yours, and you have to rediscover the truth, always fresh with a new word. We should not be afraid of not knowing. It's actually a very good state of not knowing. Not knowing tells us that there will be knowledge. It is on the way. Yeah? We prepared the space for new knowledge. Now I don't know. So great. So now in the moment of not knowing, if you invoke, it will come. And you would feel the presence.
It's like, it's like there's a ring of fire. It's always the flame, the Agni is always there. And there's you, which is inside, which is very stable and, and centered and like that. And the one who's outside, it keeps dancing in and out, like now, okay, now this part. And then this, so it's circling around the outer circle, the one part of you. And there's one part which knows. So when you make a bridge between the two, because of the fire, you are at peace, and otherwise you just hopping, and then you become still. And the whole life probably just goes like that. And I don't know.
Nice metaphor, nice image, yes. So this connection with the inner and that where you're hopping, as you say. So that connection takes place sometimes without you even wanting or knowing. And then suddenly you discover that you know. Sri Aurobindo gives a very interesting idea that we actually know everything already. Only we are playing this game of discovering it anew. Yeah? We need to discover it anew. And every time we discover that we knew actually within.
And this is the bliss, right? Because he wanted to experience himself in all the ways. So when we discover, we actually are tasting that bliss that he wants to experience through, so many of us, right?
Yes, on the grand scale, yeah.
So, Vladimir, sometimes we have to let our mental being just lie low, not think with our mental, because we are so mental, not think with this mental mind and just go.
Yeah. Yeah, we have to we have to quiet, to silence the mind. Yeah. And this is actually the freshness of perception. The mind should not interfere with its own formation. It should be used as instrument. So once it is quiet, it's quite interesting. That's the issue Sri Aurobindo had with Vishnu Bhaskar Lila. You remember when he got into this nirvanic state of silence Brahman, of silent Brahman, he said, I don't have thoughts. You want me to come and to deliver the speech in Surat, when he had to go to Surat to deliver his speech. And he says, don't worry, thoughts will come. And he says that it's weird. He came without any thoughts, empty-minded. And then when he had to say something, all thoughts came in the right order. Yeah, because everything what he acquired already, built in within himself, it is there. It is just waiting for the occasion to come out. Yeah? So this is what we have to learn. it's not an easy task to achieve. Yeah? We are so determined by the mental knowledge that we think that if I forgot something, some term, some this, some that, then I'm losing myself. It's not like that, you know. It's not in the terms that the knowledge is. It is in the understanding of ourselves and being true in that moment of time, in that moment of discovery of the truth. It has to be rediscovered every time anew. And if we are not doing it, what for we are knowing anything? Yeah? Again, I remember this, as Sri Aurobindo says, when everything is explained, nothing is known. This is the best phrase. We explained everything, know nothing. Because in those explanations, there is no knowledge. And they can be perfect. They can be, everything will be in its right place. But we have nothing to do with it. So where are we in this knowing?
And we never know about the silence also, because we may feel we have silenced our thoughts. Like I was on a phone with somebody and I was quiet for quite some time. And then he said, you know, your silence is so loud, because I had 500 thoughts in my head. I did not know which one to speak, because I'm trying to, not speak so much. I want to, like the change is happening. And I realized, oh my God, the silence is also so loud. So there must be 3 million more extra thoughts today.
Yeah, noisy silence. Yeah. Loud silence. Yes, Mother speaks also this language about silence.
Vladimir, just one point on this.
Mm.
So if we think about somebody like Heraclitus saying, we never step into the same river twice. So this Naviyasi Gayatri is something like that, right?
Yeah,
If
absolutely.
we accept that as that flowing river as the truth, then rightness has to come new every time.
Yes,
This is just a kind of thinking that I had on this.
absolutely, absolutely. And it doesn't mean that you should not use the same mantra from the Rigvedic time. It means that your perception is fresh. It doesn't have to be always new word. It means that this word which you used before is used differently now because you have a new fresh consciousness, fresh perception. Every time you can read the same mantra with sincere call and aspiration. Yeah. In that moment of time, it is always different because you are always in another stream of river. Every time you are in a different stream. Time has changed. This moment has gone. It's a new time. We are totally new people now. Yeah. Everything what we said is no more actual. It is already absorbed. It has become part of ourselves. Now we have to rediscover the truth again anew. And if we are not doing it, we are falling back. We are dying. That's what Mother says. We fall back, we become old, and we die. This is the nature of death. Mechanical perception and holding to what was achieved. If we move with time forward, we will never die, actually. But we can't, because our nature, our physical nature, our vital nature is always delayed. It's always a little bit in inertia of some kind. It does not respond to the spirit so fast, to the light so fast. Yeah? It holds on to itself. It becomes mechanical. It uses the devices we discovered. It wants to dwell on it, to step on it, to rest on it. That's why we fall asleep every day. Today we spoke about sleep, that we hardly use this time. Half of our life we sleep, and we don't even use this time for progress. So Jayashri will be preparing course for us how to use yoga of sleep, how to use the time, this time for yoga. Um, Great. Okay, I will finish with the last verse. I'm very glad that we are discussing these things, not just finishing the text. Agni, Shukrena Shochisha, Vishwabhich Devahutibhich Imam Stomam Jushasvanach. O fire, with thy lustres white, and all thy divine hymns that summon the gods, come and accept this hymn that we affirm. And this is Sri Aurobindo's translation. With all thy divine hymns, it's amazing. There are no hymns of Agni, yes? But with all thy divine hymns, Deva Hutibhich, with all invocations of the gods. Yeah? Because Agni is that aspiration which carries that invocation to the gods, offering. Because of that. Rejoice and agree, this is Jushasvana, or Agni, with our sacred affirmation of your lordship within us, by your blazing light, pure light, and all the invocations of the gods. I was changing today. Rejoice and agree. So agree to our affirmation of you as our Lord. Agree, we happily accept that we call you to be our leader. With all your blazing pure light and with all the powers which invoke the other greater divine powers to act upon us, which he brings with himself. So this is the end of the hymn. You see, if we don't unpack these things, they look like repetition of the same, invoking of Agni. If we do not know what it means, what it implies. So, since it was hardly ever unpacked in the sense of, as Sri Aurobindo did, he gave the psychological interpretation to the hymns, and it became kind of a spiritual, journey for us and help for us. And I can feel that it is really illumining our consciousness in a different way, in a direct way. It's not explaining how things are. It is acting directly, as it were. It doesn't give an explanation. It just says how it is, and then you feel the presence. It's a very powerful means for our growth. That's why it was so precious to preserve all the Vedas, all the verses, because they are built in such a way that they carry this power. And when we unpack them, we can feel the impact. Great, we can stop here. If you have some question for this, or Shakti joined us. Nice. Shakti from Auroville. Preetu also is hiding behind.
Actually, I was thinking that only when you spoke it, that, actually all of them are just different versions, variations, flavor, texture of the same thing, of the same invocation and offering and all that. But it's like it's covering more than 360 degrees. It's like, I can only feel it. I cannot speak it in words. It is quite mind-boggling how they have not left an iota
For something
so
else.
to make us, it's like it's like a pet tied to a leash. No matter where you go, it's always going to. There is just no way. I mean, if you're aware, or if
No
you're,
escape from the divine.
yes, and that's the only way. And no matter what happens, you come back and back and back, because that's the only place you find like solace or breath. Like you can breathe, you know. You're in this suffocating, noisy atmosphere of dark clouds and smoke and haze and fog. And then you come back and you can, okay, this is it. So, you can breathe. It's like Agni is like purifying 24 hours, everything that is making it unbreathable otherwise,
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for this. Yeah, it's nice. I think so, yes. It's like every time as if it is, from the mind point of view, of course, it's repetition. It's the same, invoking the same, bringing gods, the same in every. But because it is all very different, a bit different here and there, and you are doing it in that moment of time, that thing maintains and piles up the presence of this flame. And it becomes stronger and brighter, and your consciousness perceives it more and more and feels the aspiration more and more, and the response, the grace is felt more and more, answering to the call. And then how can you refuse that state? Yeah? You want to grow into it. It's an amazing action of highest poetry and consciousness put together. Poetry becomes knowledge and action. Action to change our consciousness. And by that the being, because it is so tangible. The presence of that consciousness is so tangible and powerful that the being is affected and changed. Not immediately, but gradually. Every time you do this, it accommodates some more capacity to receive this light, because we are not capable of receiving it yet. We need to prepare ourselves. Great. All right, so it's 11 o'clock. Let's close with mantra. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.